All right, good afternoon. Just a reminder, 1:30 p.m. in this very room, you will be hearing from Philippe Lazzarini, the Commissioner General of UNRWA, who is here in New York, where he briefed the fourth committee a bit earlier today, and then he'll be speaking here with you at 1:30. Our Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed is traveling to Kigali, Rwanda, to participate in the second edition of the African Renaissance Retreat. This retreat will bring together some of Africa's most prominent leaders from business, government, and development to help shape and accelerate the continent's transformation. During her visit, the Deputy Secretary General will be meeting senior government officials to discuss advancing the implementation of Agenda 2030 with the African Union's Agenda 2063. The Deputy Secretary General will also speak at the African School of Governance, a Pan-African institution shaping the next generation of policymakers. She's expected to return back to New York on Monday. I have a bit of updates from you from Brazil, where, as you know, COP30 is being held in Belém, and at COP30 today is Health Day. In his remarks at the Health and Climate Ministerial Meeting, Simon Steele, the UN Climate Change Executive Secretary, noted that in a big city like Belém, we are reminded of the deep connection between human health and the health of our planet and our shared responsibility to take care of both. Mr. Steele underscored that today's launch of the Belém Health Action Plan is a vital step forward. Led by the government of Brazil and the World Health Organization, it integrates adaptation, equity, and climate justice, the three pillars of a resilient society. As the world faces record-breaking temperatures, an extreme heat risk governance framework and toolkit was launched today at COP30, and that toolkit was created to help countries strengthen governance, strengthen coordination, and investment in response to escalating heat risks. The new framework toolkit were developed by an international collaboration of national and global experts led jointly by the World Meteorological Organization, the UN Office on Disaster Risk Reduction, the Global Heat Health Information Network, and Duke University in the United States. It responds to the Secretary General's call for action on extreme heat. WMO points out that extreme heat claims more than 500,000 lives every year and has resulted in a record 639 billion potential work hours lost in 2024. For its part, the UN Refugee Agency launched today the Refugee Environmental Protection Fund, the world's first large-scale refugee-driven carbon finance initiative. The fund will support reforestation, cleaner cooking, and green jobs that link environmental recovery with sustainable livelihoods and protection outcomes. The fund's first projects, launching in Uganda and Rwanda, mark the first step towards the initiative's 10-year goal of restoring more than 100,000 hectares of land and expanding clean energy access to 1 million people. The fund is also already exploring opportunities to expand its work in both Brazil and Bangladesh. UNHCR notes that across refugee-hosting nations, almost 25 million trees are cut down each year for cooking fuel. This deforestation weakens soil, worsens floods and droughts, and makes farming less productive. Also today, the UN Environmental Program and its partners launched an initiative to cut food waste by half by 2030. The cut up to 7% of methane emissions is part of an effort to slow climate change. UNEP notes that the world wastes more than 1 billion tons of food every year, contributing to up to 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions. It accounts for up to 14% of methane emissions, which is short-lived climate pollutant that is 84 times more potent at a warming atmosphere than carbon dioxide over 20 years. Funded by the Global Environment Facility, the UN Environment Program, it will launch a $3 million 4-year global project to implement the targets of the food waste breakthrough. Turning to the situation in the occupied Palestinian territory. Since the latest ceasefire, our colleagues at OCHA have been leading a number of assessments across Gaza to areas where people are living or have moved, including those who are in close proximity to the so-called Yellow Line, where, as you know, Israeli ground forces remain present. Our teams note that communities in these areas urgently need aid, and it is essential that services are restored quickly. These assessments will inform a rapid response by ourselves and our partners to the most critical needs, which include food, water, shelter, hygiene supplies, and health care. As winter takes hold, our partners working on shelter distributed thousands of tarpaulins, blankets, mattresses, and clothing kits to vulnerable people across Gaza. That was done on Monday. Our partners are also reporting important progress in improving health care, with 27 health service points reopened or newly established across Gaza since this latest ceasefire came into effect. However, as we've learned many times, multiple impediments are still restricting our ability to scale up the response as quickly and efficiently as we have the capacity to do. Once again, we underscore the need for an open additional crossings to resolve bottlenecks, fully facilitate the operations of humanitarian agencies, and provide safety guarantees for convoys. Our partners working to support water, sanitation, and hygiene note that various equipments needed to improve critical infrastructure and address the public health risks remain blocked by Israeli authorities from entering Gaza. Such equipment includes machines that are urgently needed to contain and properly dispose of medical waste. Not having such equipment inside Gaza, as you can imagine, increases public health risks and contributes to an already dire sanitary and hygiene situation. Regarding the West Bank, I can tell you that we are deeply disturbed by the attacks by Israeli settlers who set fire overnight to a mosque in a West Bank village. Such attacks on places of worship are completely unacceptable. We have and will continue to condemn attacks by Israeli settlers on Palestinians and their property in the West Bank. Israel, as the occupying power, has a responsibility to protect the civilian population and ensure that those responsible for these attacks, including this attack on a mosque and the spray painting of horrendous language on a mosque, be brought to account. Turning to Sudan and the increasingly dire situation there, our colleagues at the World Food Programme warn that more than 21 million people, that's 45% of the entire population of Sudan, are now facing acute food insecurity after more than 2.5 years of this conflict. As you well know, famine has been confirmed in El Fasher and Kigali, both largely cut off from aid. However, in 9 other locations where WFP has maintained consistent access, famine-like conditions have been reversed thanks to sustained assistance. WFP stresses that where conflict has eased and humanitarian operations have expanded, hunger has declined, showing that consistent access is the difference between starvation and actual recovery. The agency is currently reaching over 4 million people each month with emergency food, cash, and nutrition support, including in previously hard-to-reach areas across Darfur, Kordofan, Khartoum, and Al Jazeera states. With more resources, WFP could double its reach to 8 million people monthly and further reduce the risk of famine spreading into the hardest hit areas. But without additional support, this fragile progress could quickly be undone. We joined the World Food Programme in urging the international community to continue stepping up with the support and funding needed to help people in Sudan who so desperately need help. And from Somalia, our colleagues at the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs inform us that severe drought in Somalia is putting millions of people's lives at risk, with humanitarian aid severely limited due to dwindling funding. This week, the government declared a nationwide drought emergency. The drought is particularly severe in the eastern and northern regions, but it is spreading to central and south Somalia as well. Our colleagues tell us that approximately 3.4 million people in Somalia are currently experiencing high levels of acute food insecurity, with more than 620,000 of them facing emergency levels of food insecurity. Between October and December of this year, more than 1 in 5 people in Somalia, that's at least 4.4 million men, women, and children, are projected to face high levels of food insecurity. The nutrition situation is equally alarming, with 1.9 million children under the age of 5 expected to suffer from acute malnutrition between August of this year and July of next year. Our humanitarian colleagues say that new government drought declaration calls on humanitarian agencies to scale up life-saving efforts in areas of nutrition, health, water, and food security. The appeal comes as aid organizations have been forced to reduce or suspend emergency assistance due to crippling funding shortfalls. The $1.4 billion humanitarian needs assessment and response plan is only 22% funded, with $317 million in the bank so far. Our colleagues warn that as a result of the number of people receiving emergency food aid will drop sharply from 1.1 million in August to 350,000 only this month. This means that less than 1 in 10 people who need food assistance for survival will receive aid. Again, we urge donors to give and give generously to our humanitarian appeals. And just for the record, I wanted to note that yesterday afternoon, the Secretary General and Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, chairperson of the African Union Commission, spoke to you at the conclusion of the 9th AU-UN Annual Conference. The Secretary General said that our collaboration with the African Union has never been stronger or more necessary, adding that since the start of his mandate, he has taken steps to keep the African continent high on the UN agenda. A closer strategic alliance with the AU was at the center of this work, he said, building on shared values, mutual respect, common interests, and complementarity. Turning to climate, as he prepares to return to Belém, the Secretary General reiterated that developed countries have a moral imperative to act by closing the Climate Ambition Act to keep the 1.5-degree limit within reach, and by doubling adaptation finance to at least $40 billion this year, and massively scaling up adaptation finance in the years to come. This awkward silence means you can ask questions. Edie.
Thank you, Steph. The U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said today that there was great concern following the takeover of El Fasher by the RSF, that so few people came out of the city when thousands were expected. And he said that this indicated that either they were dead, too sick to travel, or totally malnourished. Does the United Nations share those concerns about so many missing people from El Fasher?
Very much so, and I think we've been talking and raising the alarm on the situation in El Fasher for a long time. As you know, it is a place where there was famine. It's a place that has been bombed. It's a place that has suffered from floods. I think you heard from Amy Pope yesterday. We hope to have Mr. Fletcher, who's on his way to Darfur, speak to you on Monday from Sudan. We're trying to do whatever we can to help those who have made it out. And the reports we've received from those who've made it to Tawila and other places are horrendous to say the least. And I think we can only, I don't know if we can even imagine what we will find when we get access to El Fasher. Linda, then Gabriel.
Thank you, Steph. Mr. Lazzarini just told the Fourth Committee that he felt that UNRWA is crucial to implementing President Trump's 20-point plan for Gaza. And of course, as we know, the U.S. is not contributing, or hasn't been, I gather, since Biden administration. I was just wondering what the SG's point of view is regarding the importance of UNRWA in
UNRWA,
the future.
Provides critical services to Palestinians in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Lebanon, in Syria, and Jordan. I think the Secretary General has always been very supportive of UNRWA. Gabriel Elizondo, Al Jazeera.
Thank you, Steph. Our reporters in Gaza City are telling us no aid has entered in through the Zikum crossing yet. From the UN standpoint, can you give us an update on what's going on?
That's correct. From our standpoint, no aid has come in from Zikim into Gaza. Roads are still being checked. We're also trying to work out some of the procedures. I can tell you that I just looked at the website of the 2720 mechanism, which I would encourage all of you to look because it's full of a lot of granular data. A number of trucks have been offloaded As you'll remember, trucks have to be offloaded from Israeli trucks, taken down, and then put on Palestinian trucks. So things are moving, but not moving fast enough. And the bottom line is, I think, is that no aid has been picked up in the last few days from Zikim into to be able to be delivered into Gaza.
And just a brief follow-up on the mosque attack in the occupied West Bank. Took note of your statement, but is the SG concerned that continued attacks of Palestinians by Israeli settlers in the occupied West Bank could endanger the Gaza ceasefire?
Well, I mean, that's clear, right? But we are condemning these acts not only because of the risks they pose, but because of the very acts and because of what exactly is happening with these attacks on civilians are unacceptable. I think an attack and the defacing of a place of worship is particularly heinous. Madame, we'll go down as we flow.
Hear me? Yeah. Can you? There are reports. I mean, there are pictures going around the internet that the Israelis are building a wall in southern Lebanon.
I'm not in a position to confirm that.
Okay.
Deji.
A follow-up also on Gabe's question. You just mentioned that there are multiple impediments that restricting the ability to scale up your humanitarian work in Gaza. Zikim is not open. Is this understanding correct?
Well, your understanding should be what I
but
just told.
What I want
Gabriel.
to ask is, so UN has already made preparation for the opening of Zikim.
That's correct. We're in the process of doing that.
But why is the delay?
Well, I mean, part of it is I think I explained yesterday, was that they had to be, trucks could be brought there and then offloaded one day and then reloaded another day, right? They had to be, it was slow. Not all of the things that we need are allowed to be brought in. We're still checking the road.
So the other thing is the equipment, which has also restriction by the Israeli authority. Did they give any reason why they don't allow the waste?
I think those are questions you should ask them. Ibtisam.
I have two follow-ups. First on Al Fasher and on getting more information about what's happening there. Are you also trying to get maybe satellite images or?
I will. We have through various UN agencies, we have some access to satellite images, but I'll check where we are on those.
Gaza. You had similar. I mean, it's not clear for me why actually the UN is not asking for a cross-border mandate, as you did in Syria when you were not able to get to some areas, and you had the possibility to still deliver aid despite all the challenges.
Listen,
you have Gaza has a Rafah
we would like
border
to
with
see
Egypt.
We would like to see Rafah opened as well. I think this is not the same, I would say, legal framework that we're talking about in terms of Syria, but there are a series of resolutions from the Security Council, notably 2723, calling for aid to come in. So I mean, we have the resolutions are there. What we need is for them to be implemented, and we need to see an easier way to handle to kind of let the aid get into Gaza.
But you have been, I mean, Gaza under blockade for 19 years, and not only in the last 2 years, and you have been not able to get the aid you wanted to get in. So there must be a different solution, because what has been happening until now, it's not working. There is a.
Listen, I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue that point with us, but it is one that we keep arguing with our Israeli counterparts, and also in discussions with the Americans and with the Egyptians, is to let the aid get in. Islam.
Thank you, Stéphane. Question on Zikim crossing. Are there any trucks, UN trucks or partners trucks at the moment at Israeli side under the process? That
I mean, there's aid through that is registered through the 2720 mechanism, which has been offloaded, brought into Zakim Crossing, offloaded, but it has we've yet to be able to pick it up and drive it into Gaza.
any time frame, any expectation when they may cross?
We would like to have done it yesterday.
And on another question, yesterday the Secretary General said the ceasefire in Gaza is fragile but holding, yet repeatedly violated. Does the UN itself have any way track these violations?
No, we are not part of a monitoring mechanism for ceasefire violations. There are a group of countries, the guarantors, which should be doing that.
Thank you, Steph. Today in Geneva, the UN Committee Against Torture, in its 6th periodic report of Israel, made a statement saying they were appalled of reports indicating that there had been systemic and widespread torture of Palestinian detainees by Israeli soldiers. Does the SG have any comments, and were there any requests or intent to launch further independent investigations?
Yes, I mean, there are a number of investigative mechanisms that are mandated to look into these very serious allegations, but the Israeli authorities need to cooperate with them. Alex.
Thanks, Steph. There have been some reports saying Mr. Grossi is in Russia's Kaliningrad. Could you please confirm his trip, or we should call Vienna?
I like it when you answer. You give yourself. You give me an out, Alex. So yes, pick up the phone and dial Vienna. I just wanted to add something. Just an event I wanted to flag for you is that we're the 13th today, correct? Yes. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. there will be an event in conference room 8, which I think you can watch virtually, recognizing 20 years of since the creation of the UN Department of Safety and Security, a department which, as you know, was created as part of the review and studies done after the Baghdad bombing, and has done amazing work in trying to ensure that our colleagues can do their work in safety and security throughout the world. Any questions online? Then I'll go back to the room. Okay, Islam, please.
I'm going to follow up my own question. According to the UN, the information you obtained, how many times Israel violated the ceasefire in Gaza since October 10th?
Again, we're not monitoring ceasefire violations, right? So whatever information we have is publicly available information. It is not our information. I think that is something to check with the guarantors of the ceasefire. All right, thank you all. We shall see you back at 1:30 p.m. in this very room if you're so inclined.